Today, we're diving into a massive, fundamental shift in how our entire world works. It's a jolt to the system so huge, it's being called the Great Geopolitical Gear Shift.
Just picture that for a second. You're cruising down the highway, everything's smooth, it's efficient, it's totally predictable. Then, out of absolutely nowhere, bam! That violent, system-shocking jolt. Pure chaos, right? Every single thing that isn't nailed down becomes a projectile.
Well, that violent jolt? That's not just some metaphor. It is the perfect description of what just happened to our entire global operating system. The era of the smooth ride is officially over.
So, yeah, we are living through the great geopolitical gear shift. And what that means is a fundamental change in the entire logic of our world. We're moving away from a system that was designed for one thing, maximum efficiency, and toward a new reality that demands something else entirely, resilience.
This chart, it lays out the before and after perfectly. On one side, you have the world we got used to, the fifth gear world. Think of the post-Cold War era. It was all about engineered balance, squeezing every last drop of efficiency out of the system and getting rid of friction. But now, we've been slammed into the second gear world, a world of sudden, abrupt shocks where being resilient and ready for bare-knuckle competition are the new rules of the game.
So, how does a shift this huge actually happen in the real world? I mean, this isn't some polite debate in a conference room. It happens when you start weaponizing the world's most critical arteries, the choke points that literally keep our entire global economy alive.
Let's take the Strait of Hormuz. Okay, look at it on a map. It's this tiny 21-mile wide stretch of water, but a staggering 20 to 30% of the world's entire maritime oil supply has to flow through that one single gap. It's the ultimate geographic choke point, and it's no longer just some background risk factor. It's now an explicit weapon.
And this is where the new rules of conflict get really interesting. You don't need a massive navy to shut down a strait anymore. Nope. All you have to do is manipulate risk. You just need a credible threat, maybe from some cheap drones, and that's enough for the insurance guys in London to spike their premiums overnight. Suddenly, a single voyage costs millions more. It becomes completely unaffordable, and the flow just stops. You've created a blockade with economics, not with explosions.
And here's the really big consequence of all this. When the physical flows of the economy become the weapon, there are no more neutral bystanders. Every single nation that depends on that oil or that shipping lane is instantly drafted into the conflict, whether they like it or not. The very idea of neutrality is dead.
Now, this new reality creates a pretty terrifying dilemma, especially for the one nation that built its entire modern identity on those global flows. To really get the true scale of this gear shift, we have to talk about China.
For the last 2 decades, the golden rule of globalization was interdependence. The big idea was that if we tangled all our economies together, it would make war totally irrational. So we optimized everything for maximum efficiency. But in a world where those connections can be weaponized, that extreme optimization suddenly becomes a massive, and I mean potentially fatal, liability.
Let's get specific here. China's economic miracle was built on one huge assumption, that the oceans would always be open and safe. Their whole model is existentially dependent on foreign energy, foreign raw materials, and open shipping lanes. The very lanes that, as we just saw, can be shut down without firing a shot. And the real kicker? The security of those lanes is ultimately guaranteed by its #1 geopolitical rival.
And that right there brings us to the core of what's called the interdependence trap. It's that nightmare scenario where your greatest strength, your total mastery of global supply chains, violently flips and becomes your single greatest vulnerability. It is the ultimate strategic nightmare.
Okay, so if the US holds this incredible leverage over the world's arteries, and China is so incredibly vulnerable, are we just heading for some catastrophic collision? Well, probably not. The likely outcome is something far more complex, a tense, highly managed rivalry.
A really useful way to think about this is to look back at the Plaza Accord. Back in 1985, the world's big powers all got together to rebalance global trade by messing with currencies. What we might be heading for now is a similar deal, but for the physical world. So, instead of tweaking currencies, the US and China will basically negotiate the rules for controlling physical flows of goods and energy, all to avoid a systemic collapse that would honestly destroy them both.
So this managed rivalry, it's not going to be fought with tanks on some traditional battlefield. It's a non-stop competition for control over 4 critical domains: energy,
logistics, technology, and information. You can think of this as the new periodic table of geopolitical power. You control these, you win. But look, these massive geopolitical shifts aren't just abstract ideas for diplomats to worry about. They have a direct and very real impact on all of us, and you're going to feel it right in your wallet.
What we're seeing is the death of the just-in-time supply chain. That was the old world, the world of pure efficiency, where car parts would arrive at the factory just hours before they were needed. The new model is just in case, and it's all about resilience, which means building expensive, redundant factories and stockpiles just in case. And guess what? It is inherently inflationary.
Here's another way to think about it that really hits home. For 20 years, we all enjoyed artificially cheap stuff because the global system was basically ignoring geopolitical risk. It's like we were getting a peace dividend discount on every product we bought. We were driving the car without paying for insurance. Well, we just crashed, and the bill is finally due.
This really means that the higher prices we're all seeing, they aren't some temporary bug. They're a permanent feature of this new world. This is the cost of resilience. It's the price of survival in a more dangerous world. And survival now comes with a massive, non-negotiable premium.
And all of this leads to a final, pretty sobering question. Building this kind of resilience, the stockpiles, the redundant factories, it costs trillions. It's a form of geopolitical insurance that, let's be honest, only the wealthiest nations can really afford. So if resilience becomes an exclusive luxury good, who gets left behind? Who is left exposed to the chaos of this great geopolitical gear shift?